Welcome back to my channel. Today it's all about the Reolink GO PT. It's a cellular security camera that I use as a cellular trail camera, but today's focus is going to be on better reception. How can you get better signal to your cellular security camera? Today we're going to be doing a lot of testing, what antennas are available in the aftermarket, what antennas fit, which dB of gain should you be looking for. We'll do a lot of experimenting. I'm hoping to answer all of those questions. Stay tuned if you want better signal for your Reolink GO PT. Now, I've done quite a few videos on the Reolink GO PT and why I think it's the best cellular trail camera out there on the market. I'll put a link down in the description and you can look at all the previous videos I did on this, and I lay out my argument on why I think it is the best camera. I also touch on many other topics, so check out the description and also check out the comment section. I've answered probably hundreds of different questions over the years on these Reolink GOs, so feel free to check that out. But quickly, this camera has a smart PIR sensor that starts recording as soon as there's motion detected. It continues to record until that motion leaves. This camera also can pan and tilt, so from remote locations anywhere in the United States, you can simply access your app and you can control this camera. You can pan this camera left and right or tilt it up and down. You can also talk remotely through this. It has a speaker and a microphone, so through your app, if there's somebody walking in front of your camera, you can talk to them. You can play a pre-recorded message if you so choose. You can turn that option on and off. This camera also runs on the cellular network, so there's no need for Wi-Fi. You don't have to run any wires or cables. It comes with a solar charger, so it keeps this internal lithium battery charged up. We've been having quite a cold winter here, and we've had temperatures down as low as -5 degrees Fahrenheit. I know there's parts of the US that get much colder than that, but this camera and solar panel has held up to that. These cameras have been out 24/7, 365 days a year for over a year and a half, going on 2 years now, and they've held up great to the weather and have worked flawlessly. So again, if you want more information, click the links down in the description. You can see the videos. I'll put a link where you can purchase this, but let's get to testing. Now, there are several different reasons why you might want to replace your antenna. You might simply be looking for better signal. You might be like me and have trouble with the original antenna breaking. In fact, I had squirrels that would climb up on top of my camera, and I believe they were responsible for breaking more than one of my antennas. The plastic housing right here where it meets the camera would break, and that obviously was not good for my camera's reception. Now, I made a video in the past about the antenna that I used to replace the original antenna, had a magnetic base. Unfortunately, that antenna is no longer available, and I've had several requests from people asking which antenna I would recommend. I honestly don't know what's going to be best, but I ordered a sampling of what's out there and what's available, and we're going to be putting these onto the camera and testing it and see which one gives the best reception. And then you'll know, without having to order all of these, which one might work best for you. So let's get into it. Now, the first hurdle I had to overcome was getting the correct connection on the end of the antenna. The Reolink GO PTs require an RP SMA type connection. Now, I'm not an expert, and I'm not going to go into too much detail, but the RP does stand for reverse polarity, and the SMA is a standard connection that's on a lot of handheld devices with antennas, trail cameras, and security cameras here, obviously. The SMA stands for Sub-Miniature Version A. I know that's a lot of technical details, and I don't even understand that all, but I do know I needed a male RP-SMA type connection on the end of the antenna. When I entered that into the search, these are some of the options that were available. So the first antennas that I ordered were from this brand. I'm not affiliated with any of these antenna makers, but it's advertised as working with trail cameras. It does have the correct connection there, so I know it'll work. It's quite a bit bigger than the original antenna, or at least wider. This is advertised as a 9 dBi. That's the gain strength on this. I don't know what's best, and I did some research online to see what is best or recommended for the Reolink, and I can't find that information anywhere. In my mind, the higher would be better, but after doing some more research, that's not necessarily true, or at least I don't think that's true. I have an assortment of different gains. Each one's a little bit different here on the antennas I ordered, and I don't know what the stock antenna was, so we'll see how that all plays out. But this is the first antenna we're going to try. It came in a 2-pack, and again, this is a 9 dBi gain, and it has the correct male RP SMA connection. The next antenna was actually from the same company. This came in a 2-pack, and it's meant for TVs and radio antennas. It actually comes with an adapter to change this from male to female. It does have the RP SMA connection. This antenna is advertised as a 7 dBi, so the first one was 9. This one is 7. This comes with a wall mount, which I believe you could use to mount onto a tree or a post or a wall. So we'll see how this antenna does when we put it to the test. Our last contestant here, I'm not even going to try and pronounce that name, but this antenna looks quite a bit different than the other ones. It does have the correct connection, so it should fit this trail camera just fine. But this one is a 5 dBi worth of gain. Has quite a long cable that's going to make it that you can mount it a lot higher than what the actual camera is. That may prove to be beneficial by placing this a good bit higher or in a clearing as opposed to the camera. You probably have 15-20 feet worth of cable here. So this is the last contestant. So we have a 5 dBi, a 7 dBi, and a 9 dBi worth of gain. Let's test these to see which one's going to be best. So as a base or a starting point, I am going to have the original antenna on, although it is partially broken and we are indoors. It's going to give very poor signal, and we're going to see if any of these other antennas can do better indoors. If we can't get a clear-cut winner in here, we might have to try outside. But I'm pulling up a live view now. You can see it is showing 4 bars, between 3 and 4 bars there, but there's a lot of lag into the view here, and in fact it's really skipping and locks up. It's not very good, and it's definitely bouncing around from 3 to 4 in the signal strength there. So I'm actually going to shut this camera off now. I think it might be a good idea to have the camera powered off when you disconnect and reconnect new antennas. Maybe that doesn't make a difference, but I'm going to play it better safe than sorry. So our very first antenna I'm trying is the 7 dBi, and I already ran into some problems. It has the correct connection, exactly like it's supposed to, but the hole in the housing for the camera is actually too small for this to fit into. I actually had to just take that and sand down the end of the connection, or the plastic portion that surrounds the connection. A little bit of sanding. It actually didn't take much at all, and it fit on. So that was a problem that I didn't anticipate for this first antenna that I tried. But after just a little bit of sanding, I didn't want to touch the housing and enlarge that hole at all. But it just sanded down the connection on the end of the antenna, and it fit right in. So let's see what kind of service we have now. With this antenna, it's showing 4 bars of service. Definitely a little bit less lag. There is still some lag there, but it's definitely better, which I anticipated it being better than the original antenna, just because that original antenna was in pretty poor shape. So you can see we do have 4 bars of 4G now with this antenna. This antenna is adjustable. You can move it up and down and to the side. So that may be helpful. It's definitely a larger antenna. It's made out of plastic. Again, it's 7 dBi. It's holding service here with us indoors. You can also see our kbps, the amount of data we're using is fluctuating some, but it's working better than the original antenna did. So this next antenna fit the housing, it had the correct connection, no modifications needed. This one comes with, I would say, approximately a 10-foot extension here. It also comes with a wall mount, like an L bracket here, that you can mount this with. It has a metal top portion here, kind of a spring. Have that attached to this Reolink now. If I pull up the app, it is showing now that I have full bars. Every single bar is filled up here. The lag, there's a little bit of a lag there, but very little. I'm impressed. This is showing the highest signal and we're indoors. So far, this one seems to be working better. With this bit of extension, you can get this mounted up even higher if you need better signal. If that works better, you can experiment with different heights by giving this extension cable that's already permanently mounted here. That's a good option. Full service here with this one. Very little video lag. Does have this metal housing, which I think will hold up against different critters or up to the elements. So this might be good. Remember, this one is dropping down to 7 dBi, where the original one was 9 dBi. So obviously in my testing here, not necessarily the highest gain antenna is the best. So far, this one's beating out that original one that I tried, and the best part is no modification is needed to make it fit to your camera. So our last antenna, if you'll remember, is our slowest gain. This is advertised as a 5 dBi. You can obviously look at it. It's a good bit different looking. It doesn't necessarily look like an antenna. Again, it has probably a 10 to 12 foot cable on it. It fit the camera without any type of modifications. This cable is a good bit heavier than the previous antenna I just tested. This is a lot thinner. This is definitely thicker, but this does look like a plastic housing. It is supposed to be weatherproof, and it does come with the L bracket, again, to mount to the tree or to a post or to a wall. So now we can check out the app with this one, and it's showing about 3 bars right now, which is one of the worst. If you remember, that's about what the original one was. Let's check the lag here. The lag is definitely, there's some lag there. It's not terrible, and actually our reception is jumping from 3 to 4 bars. Let's try and move this around and see if we can get a better service. There, we're up to 4 bars. Now we're back down to 3. So this antenna, from what my short experiment is here, it's possibly the worst out of all of them. This is 5 dBi of gain, although it gives you the option to mount it higher or lower. I'm definitely showing 3 to 4 bars, and there is a significant amount of lag, or at least some video lag there. So this one, even though you might be able to mount this higher and try and get better reception, it definitely has a hardier cable and thicker cable. It is definitely not beating, especially that previous antenna in the strength. It's definitely jumping around from 3 to 4 bars of strength, and our kbps, the amount of data we're using, is doing some significant jumping around. I look for that to be steadier with a good antenna. So there we go. Those were interesting results. The 7 dBi antenna, the second one that I tested, seemed to be the best. It held steady at full reception. This one at 5 dBi seemed to be the worst. This does have the plastic housing, and although it has a thicker cable here, it bounced between 3 and 4 bars worth of service. The original one, if you remember, we had to modify some. It held pretty steady at 4 bars, but not full reception. So far, this seems to be the winner. I like that this is metal and the animals can't chew on it, although it does have a little bit of plastic down here on the base. It also comes with a mounting plate that's going to give you different options to try and mount this antenna. And of course, it has that built-in length here that's going to allow you to move at different heights. Let's head outside. I want to do a little bit more testing out there, and then I'll give you my final thoughts after using these 3 antennas. So without running the risk of boring you and with repetition, I performed the exact same results that I did indoors, except outdoors, here in the woods. I was curious to see what results, if anything, would be different. When I performed the test outdoors here, both of these antennas with the extensions on them, both gave full service. If you remember, this was the clear winner indoors, but outdoors here, this one performed just as well with full reception. This plastic antenna that mounts directly to the camera has no cable extension at all with it. It performed exactly as it did indoors, 4 out of 5 bars. Seems acceptable. It would probably work. But again, remember, you have to slightly modify it in order to make it fit the camera. Both of these, no modifications needed. Again, both of these antennas come with these wall mounts, which has screw holes here, makes it very easy to mount. I actually put these on a bit of an extension pole, had an old broomstick and raised them up so I could get 10 feet in the air, and they both performed very well. Again, both these antennas outdoors here gave full reception. So I can say both of these improved over the stock antenna, or at least the condition that my stock antenna was in. And I can recommend that these should work with your Reolink GO and hopefully boost your service and reception. One other thing to keep in mind is there's extension cables available. I actually bought a 30-foot extension cable that has the correct ends that'll hook into my camera, extend 30 feet, and then would hook into these. That might be an option to give you even more flexibility in mounting, and if you can search around and test for better service. Again, I'm going to be placing links down in the description to these antennas. I'll put all three of them down there and list them, and you can choose for yourself after seeing my test which one you think is going to work best. They're all relatively inexpensive, and if it allows you to get better reception with your Reolink GO PT, it'll be well worth it. So those were my results of my unofficial testing here. I'll be placing links to each of these antennas down in the description. I'll also put a link to that extension cable that I found that it would give you even more flexibility in mounting these. For my testing, I believe these, especially with the cables, are a step up from the factory antenna, and it'll probably give you better reception. I'd love to hear from you. Maybe you've tried a different antenna or had different results. I'd like to learn from you and to hear what you have tried. I appreciate hearing from you, and I try and get back to each and every one of you. I want to thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.